So before we move on to actually placing that vise where it needs to be, we're going to actually have to create the jaws themselves. So in order to create jaws within an assembly, it's actually quite simple. You stay in the assembly environment. You come up to your component panel within your assembly tab, and you left click the create component. What this does is allow you to start designing as you need internally inside of this assembly in a top-down fashion. So let's go ahead and create this. This is going to be the solid jaw. And you'll see that it's going to actually put the file in the correct area. You can select what type of file it is, and this is actually to be a standard IPT file. I'm going to hit OK. Now it's asking me, where do I want this component to be? Well, so I actually want this component to start at the bottom of the face here of my part. So what you'll see is now I have several areas to select here. If I just hover over that face, that's the stock face. I can actually move up a little bit and I'll get the model face itself. So what I want to do now is it push me into a sketch right away on the plane of that surface where I want to start that part. Well, I can't really see where I'm working here, so let's go ahead and go to the top view. And let's start modeling our jaws. Now it's a simple rectangle 6 inches by 1 inch, so I'm going to just start a rectangle at 2 points. And like I said, it doesn't need to be perfect as this is parametric. What I can do is just find where I want it to be, closest point, and then dimension it accordingly. Now these are actually going to be 2-inch jaws. By 6 inches. And 6-inch jaws may be too small for this, so I may actually have to upgrade to 8-inch jaws. Now you'll notice now that I have that, I need to find a place to actually constrain this to. So what I need to do is I need to constrain this to the center point of the part. So I'm going to hold down Control, right click, and select the proper direction I want to constrain the points to. So in this case, you'll see my graphics triad is actually sideways. It's clocked 90 degrees. So I'm going to click a horizontal constraint to constrain the 2 points. And that took care of our X direction in our assembly. Even though it's a Y direction for the actual model, this is an X direction for our machining. And I can actually just general dimension this point to this edge. And we'll make that, looks like it'll be good at 1 inch. And I can finish that sketch. Now that that sketch finished, I can extrude these jaws the way I want to extrude them. So let's go ahead and go into our 3D model tab, extrude, and I'm going to use an asymmetrical extrusion because I want to extrude this to be able to capture the part. Now it looks like it's good at a 1/2 inch. I know that this is actually going to be 1.5 inches for these jaws, as they're 2 inches. I'm going to hit OK to that. And I have one jaw 50% complete. Let's go ahead and put our pocket in our jaw. So I'm going to start a new sketch, and I'm going to use the Project Geometry tool up in the Create panel of our Sketch tab. And I'm going to project the outside edges of this part onto that surface. So now if you look at that, you'll see that burgundy color that's around there. That's indicating that that's projected that entire contour. Now I want to continue the contour around here, and the reason for that is so that I have a complete chain to be able to extrude cut this body to. So I'm going to finish that sketch. We're going to use extrude again. We're going to use extrude cut. And this time for distance, we're going to change this to the to function. Now what that's going to do is now ask us to select a face. Now I can move back and forth to find this face again, or once again I can come down, I can right click and use the select other function, and you'll see that in the drop down of the mini toolbar I could go through each face that's inside of my graphics window. And that second face is the face I want. I'm going to hit OK to that. And now I have my jaws to my part face. Now the significance of that is that at this point in Op2, these jaws are going to be complete to that point. So it's going to be to my part model face, not to my stock model face. Now I have my pocket complete for one side of my jaws. Let's go ahead and do the other side. And what we're going to do for that is we're going to use a simple mirror the model. So I'm going to return to my assembly. We're back in my assembly. Here's my new stock solid jaw. What I'm going to do is mirror that component. Because it's symmetrical, I can actually just mirror that over directly, and it's going to create itself as a separate part. So I'm going to use the mirror function. We're going to mirror that jaw, and we're going to use a mirror plane. So I'm going to make sure that I come over here to my origin folder and find the exact center of my assembly and make sure that it's in the correct place. That's the YZ plane. And what that did was create a perfect replica of those jaws. I'm going to hit the next. This is where it's going to ask me to insert what I want, what the name would be. Just let's change this to movable. This is our movable jaw. I'm going to hit OK, and there is our two vice jaws for this project for the second op. Now you'll see this recycling little blue and red icon here. That means that it's adaptive. What that means is if the positioning of the sketch that we created the pocket to the jaws changes in any way, it's linked directly to the part itself. So this is a direct link. Anytime you see this inside of the browser, that means that it's linked to something else, and you need to be careful when moving components around because that's going to update the sketch automatically. Now this is a good thing because if we did need to move the part or extend the jaws or make something bigger or move a position, those references are going to be linked, and it's going to move those sketches and update the jaws automatically. So another beauty of parametric design software. So with these two jaws created, I'm going to move those over into my fixture components. That way I can turn them off just with clicking one folder. And with that, I think we're ready for our setup.